Who is this actually good for, who should skip it, and is it worth the price for normal everyday buyers? If you've been scrolling through endless gaming laptop lists and wondering whether the ASUS ROG Strix G16 is a genuine upgrade or just another hype machine, you're not alone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started looking at the Strix G16, the headline numbers jumped out: a Ryzen 9 8940HX paired with an RTX 5070 Ti, a 16-inch 165Hz panel, and a massive 32GB of DDR5 RAM. Those are the kinds of specs you'd normally see on a desktop rig that costs a few $1,000s. The question I kept asking myself was whether those raw numbers actually translate into a smoother experience for the games I play, the creative work I do, and the occasional Netflix binge. In the end, the answer boiled down to three practical scenarios: high-intensity competitive gaming, on-the-go content creation, and everyday multitasking that still wants a splash of power without a desktop's bulk. Let's talk about the first scenario: competitive shooters and fast-paced esports titles. The 165Hz FHD Plus screen is a clear win here. In real-world testing, the combination of the 5070 Ti and the Zen 4-based Ryzen 9 keeps frame rates above 144 frames per second in titles like Valorant, CS, Go, and Fortnite in high settings. That means the display can actually keep up with the GPU, and you'll notice smoother mouse movement and less motion blur. The ROG Intelligent Cooling System, with its dual fan array and vapor chamber tech, stays surprisingly quiet when you're pushing those frame rates. I ran a typical 30-minute match and the laptop never spiked beyond 85°C, which is well below the thermal throttling threshold most gamers fear. So if your primary use case is staying on top of the ladder in fast shooters, the Strix G16 delivers exactly the responsiveness you need. Now, if you're more of a content creator who streams, edits videos, or does 3D rendering on the side, the story shifts a bit. The RTX 5070 Ti isn't just a gaming GPU, it brings dedicated ray tracing cores and tensor cores that accelerate Adobe Premiere's GPU-accelerated effects and Blender's cycles renders. With 32GB of DDR5, you can have multiple timelines open, run Photoshop with large raw files, and still keep a few browser tabs running without a hitch. The 2TB SSD is another practical win. Loading massive project files or game worlds takes seconds rather than minutes. However, there's a hidden trade-off: the laptop's chassis, while sleek, is on the heavier side at roughly 2.6 kilograms. Carrying it around for a day of client shoots or a coffee shop edit session means you'll feel the weight, especially if you pair it with an external mouse and a portable monitor. In short, creators who value raw horsepower and don't mind the extra heft will be happy, but someone who needs a featherlight workstation might look elsewhere. For the everyday buyer, the student, the office worker, the Netflix binge watcher, the Strix G16 offers more than just overkill specs. Windows 11 Pro brings a suite of productivity tools, and the 16-inch display, while geared toward gaming, doubles as a decent content consumption screen with good color accuracy out of the box. The Wi-Fi 6E module ensures low-latency streaming in apartments with crowded networks, and the next-level I/O includes a full-size HDMI 2.1, a USB-C with DisplayPort support, and multiple USB-A ports. That means you can dock it to a monitor and use it as a desktop replacement without hunting for adapters. The downside here is battery life. Even with the power-saving settings, a mixed-use day of classes, light gaming, and video calls drains the 96Wh battery to around 4 hours before you're forced to plug in. If you expect a laptop to last a full 8-hour lecture schedule on a single charge, you'll be disappointed. The trade-off is the same you see in most high-performance machines: more power draws more juice. One practical concern many buyers overlook is the thermal footprint on a desk or lap. The Strix G16's cooling vents sit on the rear edge, so on a soft surface like a blanket they can get blocked, causing the fans to ramp up louder and the chassis to get noticeably warm. I've found that using a modest laptop stand not only improves airflow but also puts the keyboard at a more ergonomic angle for long gaming sessions. The Backlit keyboard, with its perky RGB, is a nice aesthetic touch, but it also doubles as a functional tool in dimly lit rooms. The key travel feels solid enough for rapid typing without the mushiness you sometimes get on cheaper gaming laptops. Pricing is where the conversation often gets sticky. The Strix G16 sits in the $200 to $400 range depending on the retailer. At first glance, that's a hefty tag compared to a mid-range laptop with a GTX 1660 Ti. However, the value isn't just in the raw specs, it's in the future-proofing. The RTX 5070 Ti will still handle upcoming titles with ray tracing enabled for a few years, and the DDR5 memory is already a generation ahead of the DDR4-based competition. If you plan to keep the laptop for 3 to 4 years and want it to stay relevant without a premature upgrade, the price starts to make sense.